I promise, everything is not about race. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about the issue of 20-year-old U.S. track and field runner Sha'Carri Richardson being suspended for her positive marijuana test, while 15-year-old Russian figure skater Kamila Valieva was not suspended for her positive banned substance test. Now, Sha'Carri is saying, hey, this is about racism. The only reason why I was suspended for the Olympics and she wasn't is because I'm black and she's white. Now, this is simply not true at all. Okay, if you're a simple-minded person and you don't understand what's going on, maybe you would think that way. Or if you don't have all the information, you might be a smart person, you might be intelligent, but you don't have all of the information to really judge the whole situation. Let's go back. Let's go back to 2021 during the 2020 Summer Olympics. I know the years don't match up, but of course, there was a delay because of the bug, so they had the 2020 Olympics in 2021. Now, Sha'Carri is going through the trials to qualify for the Olympics, and I believe she does qualify. However, during the qualification, she popped positive for marijuana, and she was suspended for 1 month. She didn't try to fight it. She owned up to it. She admitted to it and said, hey, you know what? My biological mother died, and I'm going through a tough time, and I did that to try and just calm myself and X, Y, and Z, which is a bad idea, by the way. If you're using drugs to get over a death or get through some kind of bad time, that's a really bad idea. You're going to end up on Skid Row as a dope fiend, but that's a different story, and I digress. The whole point is that she popped positive for it. She owned up to it, said, hey, it's my fault, my responsibility. She took accountability for that action at that time. So when she was suspended, it knocked her out of the first race in the Olympics, but the suspension was over with as the Olympics went on. So she was eligible for another race in the Olympics, but she did not get picked by U.S. track and field. So she missed the entire Olympics because of the suspension and for not being picked for the race she could have raced in. So when somebody says, oh, she was suspended out of the entire Olympics, that's not true. She was suspended for some of the Olympics, but not all of the Olympics, all right? Now, Kamila Valieva popped positive for trimetazine or some kind of drug. If I said that wrong, please forgive me, but the drug is supposed to help your endurance. I think it affects your heart, so your cardiovascular system could be helped. There were also 2 other things she tested positive for, but they weren't banned substances. It was only the one thing that was a banned substance. Anyway, this was revealed during this Olympics, the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics. However, the positive test happened back in December of last year. Russia, which is who she skates for, is just now announcing it during the Olympics. So the decision was made to not suspend her while she's out there in Beijing. Okay. Now, Sha'Carri saying racism. A lot of her supporters are saying racism. People that don't have all the info, they're saying racism. Sha'Carri's black. She's white. What's going on? First of all, Sha'Carri runs for the U.S. The U.S. and Russia have different ways that they handle their doping, okay? So let's talk about this. You have the World Anti-Doping Agency, the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency, and the Russian Anti-Doping Agency. The World Organization sets the standards that both countries have to implement with their respective agencies. You understand what I'm saying? So the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency, they got to take whatever WADA gives them and implement it into their country. And there's certain rules and guidelines you should follow. However, you have independent sovereign countries. At a certain point, they can do whatever they want. At a certain point, they might kind of look the other way. They might not necessarily enforce certain things. They may not have all the drugs that are recommended as banned substances, depending upon where they go. If you go to the Olympics, there's probably a list of things you can't have in your system that have to be implemented by the independent nations' doping agencies. But in Russia, it's not quite the same way it is in the U.S. In the U.S., we appear to be more honest with USADA, at least. USADA is the one that actually suspended Sha'Carri for the 30 days because of the positive marijuana test. Okay, that's our anti-doping agency. But the Russians, They don't do things the same way. See, the young lady, the 15-year-old figure skater, Kamila Valieva, she popped positive back in December, but they didn't tell anybody until right now during the Olympics. Did Kamila Valieva go on social media and say, well, I own up to it, I admit it? She didn't say a word. Russia didn't say a word either. What happened was the Russian anti-doping agency did not hand down any kind of suspension, or they didn't absolve her. They kicked it to the IOC. That's the International Olympic Committee. They kicked it to the CAS. That's the Court of Arbitration for Sport. So the decision to not suspend Kamila Valieva came from a court. It was a whole decision. It's a PDF. I'll link to it in the box. You can read it for yourself. So rather than their country's anti-doping agency suspending her the way the U.S. did, it came down to a court based in Switzerland. You understand what I'm saying? It's a whole different situation. So they decided, okay, we're not going to suspend her right now, because even if she was to get suspended, the test happened back in December that she popped positive for. So if she was to get a 30-day suspension the same way Sha'Carri did, it would have already been over. And she's 15 years old, underage, and there won't be a ceremony for the medals for Russia because they got caught cheating, and they could be stripped from her if we investigate and there's some kind of funny business going on. So that was a decision. But again, it came from a court, and you know how courts are and how laws are and how rules and things could get manipulated. I think even the World Anti-Doping Agency said that it didn't like the ruling from CAS. But hey, the IOC uses CAS for these kind of matters, and they came back with their decision. That's just what it was. Race is not even involved here. You see, Sha'Carri would have a case if she talked about her teammate, one of her U.S. track and field running mates. If her white teammate popped positive for weed or some kind of banned substance for the heart endurance or whatever, and she was not suspended, then you got an issue because, okay, we have the same people governing us. We have USADA, you have U.S. track and field. So if they punish me for doing this, but they didn't punish you, then you got an issue. And if she came out on TV and admitted it and owned up to it and didn't try to fight it, didn't try to appeal it, and it was different suspension, that'd be different. But that's not the case. You're talking about a whole different country. And Russia is known for cheating, just to be honest right now, okay? Russia is actually banned from the Olympics because of doping, okay? So to say that, oh, well, they banned me because, or suspended me because I'm black, and they didn't suspend her because she's white, that whole country got banned from the Olympics because of a state-sponsored doping campaign that was allegedly uncovered back in, I think, 2016. The only reason why she's able to go to the Olympics is because they have a different name, okay? They compete as the Russian Olympic Committee rather than just Russia. They can't fly their flag or anything like that, but they're still there, and they're still able to compete, and they're still able to win. And by the way, I think Kamila Valieva won gold in the first event she was in. Now, in the most recent event, she did not win gold. I think she won 4th place, and Mother Russia was not too happy. You know, they were not happy at all. I'm talking about she might go to the gulag after this, but that's a different story, and I digress. The whole point is that Russia is known for cheating. They're banned from the Olympics. Technically, they have to compete under a different name. It's like when the club gets shot up and they change it from Expressions to Night Groove. Oh, this is a whole new spot. Same owners, same clientele, same violence that could come to the front door. But anyway, that's how they do. And they probably did it the same way. They're like, okay, we're not going to announce the positive result until the Olympics are happening. So they're not going to suspend her. Even if they did, you would have had to suspend her from December up until right now, at 30 days. So we're going to be good regardless. Okay, we're already going to be there. We're already going to get the medals. So what? It probably was a thought out thing because Russians cheat. The Chinese cheat too. Understand this. The Olympics are very important to a lot of these nations that are trying to come up or they're trying to see themselves as like the top dogs in the world. We live in a very small world. Everybody wants to be the king. Everybody wants to be on top. Everyone wants others to see them as better than the U.S. We're the best, of course, in the U.S. of A. You already know how I feel about that. But Russia wants to be seen as a superpower. China the same way, probably India the same way. They want to be seen as a top dog. So when they go to the Olympics, it's very important. They'll cheat. China, they'll cheat all the time. sending 8-year-olds disguised as 15-year-olds in gymnastics so they can win golds. That's what they do. When they had the Olympics in Sochi, Russia had the most medals. Why? Because of the doping. And then I think it might have been 2014 they were in Sochi. And then 2016, here comes the whole state-sponsored doping campaign get unveiled, and they get banned from the whole Olympics. You see how that works? But they were still able to compete through loopholes. You see, this is less about race. It's not about race at all, really. It's about legalities, different countries, corruption. That's what it's about. So Sha'Carri has a point, but not about racism. It's about different countries, different rules, different standards, cheating versus not cheating, okay? People want the Olympics to be pure and a clean sport, but in reality, only certain countries abide by that. Not every place does. The U.S. does, but other places don't, and it's just that simple. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? How do you feel about what Sha'Carri Richardson said as it relates to her and Kamila Valieva and the whole racism piece? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I stand. I think it's a silly argument. It's not about racism at all. It's about different countries, different rules, corruption versus a lack of corruption or minimal corruption. That's what it's about. Once you zoom out of the United States, once you zoom out of your hood, once you zoom out of Twitter and you see the whole world for what it is, you'll see that things aren't really about race. It's about power. It's about resources. It's about land. It's a whole different thing. You're talking about games, and it shouldn't be that serious, but it is. And that's why these kind of things happen. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.